Hey folks, it's Vince the Evil DM. I'm back at the table here doing another Railguns and Dragons Palladium Fantasy first edition, talking about pretty much Palladium Fantasy. Hope you're enjoying everything here. Every once in a while I like to go look at the table, different view, change things up a little bit. So why don't we get into that Palladium Fantasy. Let's talk about this week, turning to page 140. We see Clergy, Priests, and Priestess class this week. We're going to be talking about this. There are two types of classes internally for Clergy. There is a God of Light, which we'll show down here. There's a God of Light, and there's a God of Darkness, or Clergy of Darkness, which is on the other side. They're the same thing, just they have completely opposite abilities. A priest or a priestess or a clergy member gets their abilities much like a witch does, gets it from their god. Their spells are exactly like the wizard spells, except they don't need the verbal components. And, well, the verbal components is a little bit different. I should step back here. They don't need the hand gestures and everything. When it comes to a priest or a priestess, they basically will say their god's name or god's or word or religious name and the spell that they want, and that's it. Boom, it happens through the will of their deity or deities involved. You have to pick a god, it says, or a religion that worships a bunch of gods. Otherwise, this class will not work. Much like the witch, it will not work. Now, magical combat works exactly the same as a wizard, so it tells you to reference a wizard. A cleric has the following, or a god of light, clergy of light, has the following abilities: remove curse, resurrection, exorcism, healing touch, and turning undead. Now, the god, or the clergy of darkness, over here, has pretty much the same thing, but they have animate and command dead. They have curse as opposed to remove curse. They have penance, which I'll talk about in a moment. Remove curse and exorcism, and resurrection as well. I forgot to mention this. Light has penance as well. And penance and sacrifice allows you pretty much to biomanipulate your body so that you can resist hunger and thirst pains for a certain amount of time. Now, just because you resist those things doesn't mean that your body doesn't suffer from it. You just resist the pain. So you can resist thirst for every 2 days per level of experience and resist hunger for every 3 days per level of experience. So you can resist these things. You don't feel the pains you don't feel the need for it, but your body is still suffering from this. So you're thirsty, your body's becoming dehydrated, your body's becoming hungry, you're going to become a little bit weaker. You just don't feel the pains from it normally. Remove curse basically is not, in most games, is the spell itself. In this game, it's a ritual. There's only a 7% chance per level that you can actually do it. If you fail, you can't do it again. You have to find someone else to do it again. That's just how it is. Can only be attempted once per the same priest. Doesn't mean you can't remove other curses or a similar curse later down the line. It's just this particular time, you failed. Nope, too bad, you're done. Resurrection is a ritual, which it is in most of the games out there, fantasy games. So you must have all the body parts here in front of the priest that's doing the resurrection. Little things like a finger, or a nose, or maybe even a hand, I guess. It says fingers, ears, toes may be missing, but will remain missing when resurrected. So you still can do it. It's not a restorative process. It'll just put the pieces together and kind of bring you back. The deceased should not have been dead more than 2 to 4 weeks. The more it deteriorates, the less the chance that the priest can do it. There is a resurrection penalty of -3 that is applied for each month beyond 4 weeks since the time of death. Deceased over 1 year only has a 7% chance of resurrection. The priest may decline if they really want to not perform the resurrection. It's up to their philosophy, religion, so to speak. You can impose a fee as well. I mean, that's mostly for NPCs, but if you want to do it, you can. It can only be much like the curse. It can only be attempted once per the same priest. Others can do it. This ability to perform the resurrection does not become available until they reach 5th level. At 5th level, you have a 20% chance to perform this successful resurrection, plus 3% for each additional level beyond 5. 6th level, priests are 23, 7th level, 26, so on and so forth. So it's pretty good how it does it. Exorcism, I've never actually used this ability. It's another form of turning undead, removing a spirit from a body, so to speak. It takes 1 to 6 hours of prayer meditation to perform this rite and ritual, pretty much like the exorcism from the exorcism movies. If I can get that in focus for you. I can't get it in focus. There's a couple steps here that you have to do. And the prayer of strength is needed, which we'll go over in just a moment. Healing touch is pretty much as it says, restores 1 to 8 hit points of cuts, bruises, and bruises and things like that. It doesn't manifest until 2nd level, which may I note is a throwback to basic D&D of how they had the healing ability for clerics that weren't allowed until 2nd. Now I know this book was designed around AD&D and it's things like that, so there might be some things left over from basic type D&D when they were designing this up. So it's one of those things, maybe it's a throwback to that. So with this ability, like I said, you can restore 1 to 8 hit points once every other melee round. It's a gift to heal others. You can't use it to heal yourself. So remember that. Turning undead is the rite or ritual of turning the undead. It usually takes a couple melee rounds. It only affects skeletons, corpses, mummies, and ghouls. This ability enables the priest to turn repel the dead by commanding them to leave them in the name of your deity, which is very important. See? Although the priest can command the dead to leave, he cannot enforce his will or any other commands upon them. So you're basically just chasing them away at this point. As long as it's maintained, they will stay away at 20% at 1st level, and then 5% for each additional level. There are higher up creatures that are affected by it, but it's only temporary for a short term, like vampires, wraiths, ghosts, and spectres. Maybe kept at bay for only a period of time, only a few feet away from you, much like how they do in the movies. A lot of these things seem to be mimicking movie things. You need holy symbol and/or holy water to make this actually work. Like I said, 20% at 1st level, going up 5% each additional level. Which I noticed in these original games, some of the leveling abilities of the skills were 5%, but then some of them went down to 3, some of them went high to 6, some of them are 8, 4. It's just all over the place. I did kind of like how they streamlined it, just 5% for everything, for most things, so it was kind of interesting. Prayer of Strength. You can do this 2 times per a day, or 2 times in 24-hour period. 3 melees per level of experience it takes to do this. And ratio of success is 20% at 1st level, plus 8% for each additional level. What this does is give you plus 2 to all saving throws, plus 10% to turning dead, plus 20% to exorcism, plus 2 to spell strength, and plus 2 to damage in hand-to-hand combat. Pretty cool. Kind of like a blessing spell type thing. Now we're looking here at communion with deity. Now, this prayer will create an inspirational vision which will motivate and encourage the priest. There is a 60% chance of this warning of impending danger, treachery, or good fortune, possibly. These visions are often symbolic, somewhat cryptic, and always concerning people and matters close to the priest. These usually pertain to only 1 or 2 per vision. So you can use this. It generally will be 30% at 1st level and then 6% for each additional level. See how it's kind of all over the place with these percentages instead of just a natural 5%. So moving on to prayer of intervention is kind of like your divine intervention. You can only do it once a day, and it's a very short duration. It's 9% for each level of the priest, starting at 1st level. 2nd level, get another 9%, and then goes up and so on and so forth. It enables this priest, pretty much, to sum it up, you're asking your god for a favor, needing some help. It enables you to cast any of the spells of any level the god has in his repertoire, so it's very important to pick one of the gods. It can also be used to gain temporary knowledge of something along the way. It can also be used to get out of a situation grant some scroll ability, something like that. It really is pretty much divine intervention in a pinch. That's why it's such a low percentage that it actually works. And obviously the god has the ability, or deity has the ability to not grant what the priest is asking if it's not within the storyline of the campaign, obviously, because the GM can't give the results of the MacGuffin away because the person rolled under 9%. They can give you an illusion, or maybe they'll give you a map or some type of location to where it would be, but they wouldn't tell you exactly where it would be. At least I wouldn't as a GM. Reading and selling scrolls, that's part of the cleric ability, but that's mostly more for NPCs. Weapons. Now, it specifically goes over in here. It depends on the religious sect that you're part of. It's interpreted by the GM. If the GM sees the sect that you're part of that says it doesn't use certain weapons, then you cannot use certain weapons. It is up to the GM here to decipher these things and go over with the player what you can and can't use. Wow, I couldn't say that for some reason. Hand-to-hand combat is the same as pretty much a wizard, non-meta fighting. But there is the ability, depending on religion, again, we're going back to this up here, that you could have hand-to-hand mercenary or hand-to-hand soldier, depending on if the religion you picked is a military fighting type religion or something. Obviously, the darkness or evil religions will get something like assassin or hand-to-hand thief. But, yeah. Clergy and armor. Again, I think would be up to interpretation of a GM as well, but they are not trained hand-to-hand combat specialists, so they prefer light armor like wizards. But we get this whole passage up here. If they are trained in certain things, I would think this would override probably this. Again, GM decision here. Alignments have to match the path that you're taking of light or darkness, or the deity you're at least following within their range. They will have different ranges. You need at least an IQ of 7, and you have to be devoted to a god or a religious sect that has gods. You get spellcasting, magical combat, clerical abilities, prayers, and speak one additional language at 25% bonus. You get 6 level 1 elective skills, and so on and so forth. And you get a list here that's pretty much general standard. 1931 is when you hit level 2. Combat, magical combat gives you your spells per day. Pretty much standard with your bonuses here on the right. You get to get Sense Evil as one of your abilities in magical combat of 40%, and it goes up. The Clerks of Darkness, or the Gods of Darkness, obviously, they get to animate the dead and control them. They only get a certain amount of hit points per day when you control them. You can only control them for a certain amount of time, and they're very slow. Their average strength is 10. They're human size, small or something. Their damage. They get 1 attack per melee. Hit points would be 2 per each dead per level of priest. They have no memory or any IQ whatsoever, and you can do 1 to 4 per level experience. Success ratio is 8% per level. You have to be able to be in line of vision at them all times to control them. Now, curse is something, instead of remove curse, you have the ability to an effect or set a curse. You're a black priest or priestess, so you get to do pox, the fever, ill luck, and they each have their own saving throws and their abilities in there that you have to deal with when giving it to a person. They have the ability to remove a curse and exorcism identical to the God of Lights. Resurrection is the same. Prayers are pretty much the same thing, but instead of called strength, it's called Strength of the Damned this time. And you get the same ability, but you get +2 on these saving throws, +8 to summon the minions of darkness, +1 to spell strength, +4 to damage, and +2 to Darry. Wow, dodge and parry in hand-to-hand combat. Communion with the deity is the same. And you get this last ability that's different, summoning the minions of darkness. Enables the priest to summon forth one lesser demon, devil, demon, or gargoyle subdemon to aid the priest for 5 melee rounds, whether it be in combat or perform a simple quest. And that ability is 8% per level of the priest. The experience points are the same. The Spell chart is pretty much the same. Though I did notice here that I never noticed before is that an evil priest gets more spell casting than a light, as it's 1 and it's 2 here. I'm assuming either that is how it was meant to be, or it might be a typo, because I don't remember reading anything about them having the ability to have more spells. But again, it's up to you as the GM to interpret that how you feel. And then next up is Druid. So tell me what you think about the Clergy class, the Priest, how you used it in your games, how it worked in your games, what rules did you add to it? Did you use other books to supplement this? I'm just talking about the core book itself right here, nothing else. So with that said, I'm going to head out. Don't forget to check to see you're still subscribed to the channel. I know that YouTube has been unsubscribing people. I've heard some people say that things have been happening. Also, to me, all my notification replies were turned off for the past week, so I couldn't reply to most people because I didn't even know they were replying to my comments. I check, and all of them were turned off. Some weird update. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you click that bell notification. Like the video. Share the video. Comment below. Unscripted Evil, Friday night, 7:55 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on this channel. Good night, everybody.